future boy.
Alright, so I just watched this the other day. I got a new service or app that I found that allows you to watch movies that are really new on your computer and stuff like that. So this is still actually in theaters, and I've been hearing really good things about it on all of the podcasts and reviews that I listen to for movies. Everybody's saying it's a really good sci-fi film that should have probably had a bigger marketing campaign, should have been more known. I don't think it really got much of a push in the marketing department, so I don't think too many people really checked it out in theaters or anything like that. But I've been hearing really good things about it, so I want to check it out. And it looked pretty good from whenever I saw the trailer, I don't know how many months ago. But it's set in the future, so after they try to do some sort of climate change experiment, everybody's killed off in like an Arctic winter, and the only people that were spared are people that got on board a big train called the Snowpiercer, and this train goes around the world and goes to pretty much every country. They show like a map of it later, and it just never stops. So that's the reason people have stayed alive, is because this train never stops. You know, it can't freeze over. It's self-sustaining and all that. So they get into that. They get into some of the mechanics of it, how it works, you know, how it does keep people alive. I don't really want to get into the details of that because this is brand new still, and I'd recommend people check it out actually. So I'll get to that. But so we start off, and instantly we get this kind of division of classes. So our main character is named Curtis, and he's played by Chris Evans. Probably most know him as Captain America in the Marvel movies. So he's in the back of the train. So everybody in the back of the train is the lower class, so it's kind of pretty on the nose. So everybody in the back is lower class, and then as you go through the train, you get to the upper class and the elite people at the very front of the train. They get everything they want. They're well treated, and just, you know, pretty much everything they want they have right there. People in the back, not so much. They're crowded, it's overpopulated, they don't have much food, it's really dirty and nasty. Kind of, they don't work in an engine room, but it kind of looks like it. They're all dirty and stuff like that. So Curtis is kind of our main character. He's kind of the leader. Right away, they're trying to start a little bit of a revolt. They're tired of being back here with these despicable conditions, and they want to make a push to the front of the train and get things changed around for their life, make their lives better. So some of our other characters back there are Gilliam. He's an older man played by John Hurt, very recognizable from Alien, V for Vendetta. You go on and on. 1984. And these are just some apocalyptic movies. So he's back there. He's injured. He's missing some limbs and stuff like that. But he's also kind of the leader-ish. Everybody listens to him. He's kind of like the wise man. Everybody just defers to him when they have questions. So he's kind of teaching Curtis. So Curtis is kind of taking over for him a bit. Also in the back is a guy named Edgar. He's played by Jamie Bell. You recognize him probably from Jumper, Defiance, a couple other things. Billy Elliot when he's younger. Also Tanya is back there. Octavia Spencer, you might recognize her. And a couple other people there's quite a few actually. So things are happening back there, and eventually we get introduced to a character named Mason, played by Tilda Swinton, and she's very almost unrecognizable. Looks really goofy, has big Coke bottle glasses and some weird teeth, and she's kind of a ambassador for the front of the train. She comes back and is kind of spouts off as the mouthpiece for the inventor of the train. His name's Wilford, and he's at the front, and everybody kind of praises him. Well, it's at least the way Mason explains it, because he created this train, it kept everybody alive. And so she comes back and just keeps everybody in line a bit, and there's a lot of guards and everything like that back there making sure they don't get out of line. But she comes into play a lot later, and then eventually we get this whole revolt from the back. So they all start eventually moving up the train cars, and they want to get to the front, to the engine. They want to take over everything. And there's a couple other people that we meet, they need to get a guy named Minsu, Namgoong Minsu. I'm probably butchering that. He's played by Kang Ho Song. He's recognizable. I've seen him in quite a few movies, actually. The Good, the Bad, and the Weird. And he's teamed up with the director, which I'll get into later, I guess. So he's a recognizable character if you watch any Korean films. So they get him, and they need him because he's actually developed all of the gates on the train. He knows how to open all the gates between the different cars. So that's why they need him. And then he has a daughter with him. And he agrees as long as they will give him this drug. It's like a radioactive byproduct from the train. Just gets you really high, and they say, well, if you give me this, he says, if you give me these drugs, I'll keep opening the gates as long as you give it to me for each gate I open. So we have him as in there too, and he becomes a pretty interesting character. And so I don't want to get too much away. I really liked it. It's extremely entertaining. It's great sci-fi, set in the future after this apocalypse. It's a very unique idea about this train that doesn't stop, and there's a different class system. And as the movie progresses, there's a lot of different revelations about the characters, about the world that they were living in, and I don't know, it's kind of interesting. Some of it's a little bit on the nose, the lower class in the back trying to move to the front. But actually, I don't want to give away the reveal of Wilford or what happens at the end. It's really interesting. But I liked the fact that there's a story that's kind of told, or something that happened in the past, and they don't do flashbacks, which was really nice. They just do it through dialogue between Chris Evans and a couple other characters. It works really, really well. It's not super emotional, but it's very poignant. And I don't know, I just liked as they're moving through the cars, there's a lot of physical battles with the guards and stuff like that, but it's not always just a physical battle. There's also different struggles for the people in the back. They just can't believe, some of the stuff that's happening. It's interesting to see them kind of cope with this. Like, well, how could we be living like this when other people up here are completely have a different lifestyle? And a couple other actors that you run into. I guess one more that I wanted to mention is Alison Pill. She was in like Scott Pilgrim vs. the World and stuff. She plays a teacher, and her role's kind of interesting. You get to learn about some of the train mechanics and how it works through her scene. But yeah, I really liked it. I think I always like to see Chris Evans when he's in roles or he's not playing Captain America. I think some of his best roles are in the movie London and Puncture. He was really good in that, so it's unfortunate that he's kind of stuck playing Captain America for so long. Their contracts are ridiculous. But this movie, I didn't mention, is directed, and the screenplay was written by Joon-ho Bong. He is a South Korean director, and before this, he's most known for the movie called The Host from 2006. It's a monster movie. It's supposed to be really funny, and it's supposed to be really good, and I haven't seen it. But it's not to be confused with, there's another movie that, an American movie that came out not too long ago, I think last year, called The Host, with Saoirse Ronan. That's different. This is a bit older. It's a monster movie from Korea, so kind of be hard to mix the two up. But this is his first American English-speaking movie, so I think it's a good start. I know he's had a lot of press from the movie The Host, and they had one called The Mother, which I'd heard of that too. So I mean, he's been known. So it'll be interesting to see what he does after this. I think he has a bright future if he can keep making movies like this. It was actually based on a graphic novel, so a good adaptation, I would say. I'm giving it a 3.75 out of 5, so it's very watchable. I'd definitely check it out. I think it's too bad that didn't get as much marketing and advertisement, and it's probably not pulling in the crowds or anything like that. But it's definitely, if you're looking for a sci-fi movie, something different, a little different twist on the post-apocalyptic world, that genre. Definitely worth a watch. And I guess just the other movie connection that I made right away is just kind of the Hunger Games. Post-apocalypse, you got this dystopian world, and there's all these class struggles. I think that's what made it the most clear is, Katniss and that is in this one of the poor districts, and they have the capital and the elite people where they treated very differently. So I thought that was a good comparison. So definitely check it out. So for my sign off, I'll say you don't want to know what's in the protein bars. Oop.